Senator Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of Assembly Bill 487, Order of Business 15.
Order of Business 15.
For the record, I want to make it very clear that we gave a full and fair hearing to 487 the first time this came around. Both sides had exactly equal time. I worked with both the proponents and opponents and made sure everyone had the list of speakers and that they wanted. So this was thoroughly and fully vetted by our committee. And rather than have a totally redundant hearing, we simply moved it. More importantly, Mr. Speaker, the reason we should all be supporting this is our Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court, has said this is a constitutional right for people to carry firearms in the United States. And normally, the universities are the ones who are the biggest and most powerful proponents of pushing our Bill of Rights. But somehow, in this case, we're supposed to say your constitutional rights end at the border of a government institution. So, that's one thing. Another thing is, all the horror stories that we heard in the hearings were all entirely based on hyperbole and an idea that all these things could potentially happen, when in fact the state of Utah and the state of Colorado's campuses have in fact had campus carry for, in one case, a decade, and none of the horror stories that we were told are going to happen on our campus about drunk frat boys shooting up the place and so forth, none of those have occurred. Not a single case. So I would urge my colleagues to, rather than listen to the rhetoric of some uninformed young people who ought to do their homework in the other states where they have allowed this law for a long time, and see what the real results are of allowing people the right to protect themselves. And I would also point out that in our audience right now is Mr. Tom Collins, whose daughter had a CCW permit and was not allowed to carry it on the campus, and then was brutally raped. Now, the very fact that firearms in so many cases have been shown to, in fact, deter crime, is it just coincidental that all these horrible mass shootings that have occurred in the United States have almost all occurred in places where guns are not allowed? Post offices, school campuses, universities, University of Virginia. So I've sat through those hearings as chairman, and as chairman I've pretty much done my very best to not express my opinion, to try to be fair and as unbiased so that both sides get a fair and equal opportunity to present their case. But this is my time here now to say this is the right thing to do. It's time in the state of Nevada we recognize that people who are 21 years old, who have passed the test to carry these guns, and have in fact been shown by all sorts of studies to be safer than even the policemen who carry the firearms on the campuses now, that we allow that right for our citizens here in the state. So I would urge my colleagues to stand up, quit being intimidated by theoretical probabilities or possibilities when the evidence is overwhelming that concealed weapons reduce crime, allow protections of young ladies, and is simply an individual constitutional right that we should all overwhelmingly support. I urge this body to vote yes on Assembly Bill 487.